Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today we're going to talk about the California wildfires and how that relates to Bible prophecy. Now you may be saying, California wildfires? That relates to Bible prophecy? Oh, yes. We're going to start with an article dated October 13th, 2017 by Jim Stone. The title is California Fires Were Not Wild. They Were Engineered. Scorched Vineyard, Sonoma County, California, October 2017. Article starts, reading anything much about the fires this week in California will probably lead to the understanding that they weren't natural. Jim goes into the scientific part of the situation involving technology, chemtrails, the physics of electricity, and it's definitely not natural to see, quote, spontaneous combustion in so many places simultaneously. And who knew chemtrails had so many purposes? Oddly enough, Thomas Williams reported yesterday that the Cabal's vineyards remained untouched by the fire. Go figure. Fires in California were not wild, he says. They were caused. At first, I was skeptical, but I went over numerous social media posts, several videos, and a few messages, and it appears the fires were set by an atmospheric weapon. Okay, hold on. Atmospheric weapon. Where have we heard that before? Well, let me see. Now, since the eclipse, let me remind you what has happened in America. There's been 80 fires burning in the Midwest right after the eclipse. Of course, the eclipse was basically one big black mark from the top left to the bottom right, kind of like the no smoking sign has a line across it. This is a line across America, and we have to ask ourselves, is God marking off America, or is he about to mark off America? Has America's time about run out or run out? Have we been weighed in the balances and found wanting? 80 fires burning in the Midwest, 4 Category 5 hurricanes hit, and of course, here's a phrase you're hearing all the time. We've never had that. This is unprecedented. Never in U.S. history. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we got to ask ourselves, is this the hand of God, the end times, or what? So 4 Category 5 hurricanes hit. Harvey flooded South Texas, 4 feet of water. Irma hit West Florida, almost blowing it away. Maria devastated Puerto Rico, and they still haven't returned to normal. Nate hit flooded Gulf Coast. 2 earthquakes hit Mexico, killing hundreds. Then, of course, Yellowstone and Mount St. Helens and places in California are shaking and threatening. Then, of course, there was the asteroid, the size of a house, which just skimmed past Earth at 1/8 of the distance to the moon. Then we also had Trump sign an executive order prohibiting those doing business with North Korea from also trading with the United States. China banks were told to stop trading with North Korea. North Korea is threatening to detonate a hydrogen bomb in the Pacific. September 30th, Trump met with the military leaders and said, this is the calm before the storm. Now, California is in the middle of 66 what they call wildfires, burning, 42 dead, 6,000 buildings and homes burned. Okay, so this guy is maybe having something. Maybe he's got something here. Let's listen to what he has to say. He says, well, at first I was skeptical, but I went over numerous social media posts, several videos, and a few messages, and it appears that the fires were set by some kind of atmospheric weapon. First, to clear something up, the matter in which the cars burned was normal, but there are some instances with what went on that prove that a weather weapon was used. Weather weapons work by using multiple transmitters to create a collision zone where differently phased EM waves cancel each other out and drop their electrical potential into the air, where they cancel. This is the equivalent of biasing a transistor. Semiconductors won't simply break down and start conducting just because a bias field is applied. In order for them to conduct in a controlled fashion, they need a doping agent. In silicone, the doping agents are arsenic and boron. In the air, the doping agent is most likely what is in the chemtrails. If enough voltage is applied to a semiconductor, it will suddenly discharge it in one big burst. This is seen in the air as lightning. The weather geoengineering systems try to avoid this. But this time around in California, the effects of excess voltage are readily observed by many, many people, and it has manifested itself in more than one way. Evidently, the people running the geoengineering systems have become more bold, like a thief that steals more and more and more. The more the thief steals and gets away with it, keeps stealing. The same is happening with weather warfare. And this time around in California, the effects of the system in use were easily observed. Now, let's tie this to Bible prophecy. We're going to come back to this in just a second. March 1994, I'm going to skip the first paragraph. This is a case where the angel came to Dimitri Duduman. Said the man kept giving me more and more letters with names of churches of different denominations. He gave me very many letters and said, when you finish taking these letters, where you're supposed to, you'll see something you've never seen before. I'm going to skip part of it. He says, my people repent because the days are numbered. I began to see the days passing by, but whenever the ray of light would pass by me, I would fall. The days were passing so quickly I could not count them. The voice spoke again and said, tell my people, this is the part we need here, I tried to wake them up through powerful storms, fires, and floods, and earthquakes. But even then, they would not wake up. This is why I will pour out my wrath when they least expect it. Now, let's go back and reread that important sentence. Tell my people that I tried to wake them up through, and four things. Get the order and what the four things are. Through powerful storms, fires, floods, and earthquakes. Okay, that's storms, fires, floods, and earthquakes. Storms, we've seen storms? Oh, yes, 4 Category 5 storms. We've seen fires, yes, 80 fires burning right around the eclipse time, and now there were some 66 fires burning. We've seen floods, yep, 4 feet of water, South Texas, 4 Category 5 hurricanes. Harvey flooded South Texas, Irma hit West Florida, Maria devastated Puerto Rico, Nate flooded the Gulf Coast. So we've seen storms, fires, and floods. However, the earthquakes have not hit yet. So is this saying that earthquakes are the next thing to hit America? My opinion, yes. All right, now let's go back to the guy's article here because he lists some specific things. Then we're going to go back to Bible prophecy. 1, he says some of the people got heart palpitations from having their bodies charged. Many, many, many people saw electrical flashes that had no thunder on a perfectly clear blue sky day, and worse, some people even saw small sparks everywhere in the air around them. 3, people were reporting that their electronics malfunctioned before the fires hit, with the most pronounced and spoken about malfunction being a hotel where all of the electrical systems in the hotel malfunctioned, including the electronic access doors, forcing some people to have to jump from the windows because of the fire to escape an approaching fire that instantly appeared out of nowhere in a perfectly sunshiny, cloudless day. It is very important to make note that the malfunctioning doors, because a simple power outage will not stop those from working. Something jammed the circuits in the doors. Simultaneously, the hotel lost main power, generator power, UPS backup power, and all local battery backup power. Not even the always operational emergency hall lights worked. Now, that would be totally consistent with a massively potent EM weapon causing complete electronic malfunction because not even the circuits in the emergency backup lighting would turn on. Not even circuits at a small level worked, he says. He says there are people trolling social media, and they are saying that this is no way the air could have been so electrically charged that sparks would be flying everywhere because it would electrocute anyone standing around. He says that's not true. Tesla proved it. There are lots of photos of Tesla sitting on a chair with electrical storm all around him because it doesn't make much sense to make a show because the body is not a very good conductor. Additionally, the frequency at which the air is charged makes a difference. Once the frequency goes beyond approximately 40 kilohertz, the body won't conduct it deeply due to an electrical effect known as the skin effect, where electrical charges travel on the outside of objects rather than through them. All the unbelievable Tesla photos were the result of super high voltage, low current electricity traveling around the outside of the objects due to the skin effect caused by that electricity also being at a high frequency. So, how would this start forest fires? The answer is an easy one. 1. A dry leaf is thin, which eliminates the benefit of conduction via the skin effect. And, number 2, a dry leaf will try to be an insulator, which will force all of the electricity that flows through it to turn itself into heat. And additionally, if the air is sparking everywhere, as some of the witnesses said, one of those sparks would probably set off dry tinder somewhere. Poof! Instant fire. There should have been several cases of exploding dry trees where there was no fire there before at all. Lots of people are saying these fires suddenly exploded out of nowhere. No hint of any previous fire. No lightning, no nothing, just a sudden high wind happening at the same time the forest nearby suddenly burst into flames. That would be a telltale sign of a sudden massive electrical field heating everything up. There are people saying space-based laser systems are doing this, but I still believe that they are using phase cancellation of radio waves to cause a bias field, because whatever happened when a laser was used would not easily be controllable and would too easily result in the creation of mass ionosphere to ground lightning bolts. That is not happening, which is why I'm sticking with the EM wave approach to this. Maybe as they get more brazen and not caring about noticeable effects, they will start using lasers, which would be a whole lot easier. So, how could you possibly get 66 widely spaced massive wildfires appearing instantly? Let me read that again. How can you get possibly 66 widely spaced massive wildfires appearing instantly with no natural weather causing them, growing rapidly with perfectly calm weather before, sudden massive winds at the initiation of the fires, blue sparks in the air, malfunctioning electronics, and, in some people, heart palpitations? My answer is, ask DARPA. In other words, high technology. Now let's bring this back to Bible prophecy. Revelation 19:9. And I saw the beast, and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and his army. Now this is Armageddon. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that had worshipped his image. So, here's a case where it's giving us a picture that the false prophet is able to do miracles when he is in the presence of the Antichrist or the beast. Now let's go to another place, Revelation 16:13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For these are the spirits of devils working miracles. Okay, did you hear that? Spirits of devils working miracles. Is this the kind of miracles he's going to be working? Let's go on. Which go forth into the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. This Antichrist, this false prophet guy, is going to be using miracles to cause the nations of the world to gather down to attack little Israel. And, of course, then Jesus returns and wipes them out. How's he do that? Let's go to Revelation 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, that's the Antichrist, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast. So this is the false prophet, requiring all the world to worship the Antichrist, or the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders. Here's the part we're interested in today. He doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Let me read that again. He doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the first beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Is this what we're talking about? You see, you may be saying, oh, no, they would never believe this. They're going to know this is some kind of satellite weapon or scalar wave weapon. Oh, really? Well, how come we're not hearing it on the news today? I mean, 80 fires burning at once, a couple of months ago? Now we have 66 different fires burning all across California. And by the way, I typed in fires burning, and all of a sudden the Google thing came up. Are you wanting to know about Montana, California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, or Idaho? So apparently there's fires burning in, what is that, 2, 4, 6 different states. Okay, how do you get fires burning, 66 of them, in 6 different states, and miss all of the vineyards and primarily burn the homes, not even burning much of the forest fires, according to what this guy is actually saying? Now, you see it on TV, and it's mostly forest fires and homes. But that question still stands. How do you get fires in 6 different states, 66 different, by the way, notice the number 66, 66 different locations? And then the prophet Dimitri Duduman told us, tell my people that I tried to wake them up through storms. Have we had storms? Yep. Fires? Yep. Floods? Yep. Earthquakes? No, we hadn't had earthquakes, but you can look for them. So let's go back and look at what we're talking about. Since the internal revolution and since the eclipse, which, by the way, in my opinion, probably started, while I can't say it for certain, probably started October 12th of 2017, because that's when first blood was drawn in the internal revolution, and this is when James Fields allegedly drove his car into a crowd of protesters, allegedly killing Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, North Carolina. Then August 21, an eclipse put a black mark from the top left to bottom right corner of America, kind of like a no smoking sign, like God has just marked out America. Since then, we've had 80 fires burning in the Midwest. I mean, how do you get that? How do you do that? 4 Category 5 hurricanes. Many of them are saying, well, this is the first time in U.S. history. This is unprecedented. We've never seen this. I've lived here all of my life. I've never seen anything. You've heard comments like that, okay? 4 Category 5 hurricanes hit. Harvey flooded South Texas, Irma West Florida, Maria flooded Puerto Rico, Nate flooded the Gulf Coast. Then, remember, there's 2 earthquakes, hit Mexico, killing hundreds of people. Then there's been a lot of shaking and threatening going on in Yellowstone and Mount St. Helens. Then, as I mentioned, don't forget the asteroid, the size of a house that skimmed 1/8 the distance between us and the moon. In other words, just barely missed the world. And then, of course, all the problems with North Korea, all the problems with all of the removing the statutes and burning and looting and things like that. Now 66 wildfires burning in California. Okay, so back to the point. Is this, or could this be, the technology that the Antichrist is going to allow the false prophet to use to deceive the people, to gather them into the great battle of God Almighty, the Battle of Armageddon? Is this going to be what the Antichrist is going to use, the false prophet, to deceive many into receiving the mark of the beast and worshiping his image? Well, brothers and sisters, it certainly sounds like it now, doesn't it? Then you go to Revelation 18, verse 23, and it says, for by thy sword, well, here, let me read the whole thing. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of a bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. And this is talking about America. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. So are these the sorceries that the Bible's talking about? Using some kind of scalar wave, some kind of satellite-based weapon, or maybe an earth-based weapon to start these fires, make these big hurricanes? Who knows? Then you go to Revelation 13:3, and I saw one of his heads. And by the way, this is not saying he is wounded in the head. What this is saying is they divide the 7 continents into 10 global regions. Then each global region has a leader. And that's what it's referring to. These are the heads of the global regions, the 10 global regions. I saw one of the heads of one of those regions, would be the way we would say it. I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And here it is. This is the point I want to get to. And all the world wondered after the beast. Why do they wonder after the beast? Well, Daniel says his look is more stout than his fellows. And Daniel also says he is a man of fierce countenance. So apparently he looks different than other people. But one of the things they're going to be wondering about this guy, in another place says, and All that dwell upon the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life when they beheld, in other words, when they see this guy. So apparently it does have to do with his physical appearance, but also it could be that he's able to call fire out. Well, another place that says, he doeth great wonders, so they call fire out of heaven on the earth and the sight of men, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the first beast. So let's summarize where we are here. Okay, July 14th, we had the Steve Scalise House Majority Whip shooting at the ballpark, which I think was actually supposed to be 5 to maybe as many as 15 Republicans killed there. Then we had August 12th, the first blood drawn in the internal revolution in Charlottesville, North Carolina. Then August 21, the eclipse put a black mark across America. Since then, we've seen 80 wildfires burning the Midwest, 4 Category 5 hurricanes hit, 2 earthquakes hit Mexico, Yellowstone, Mount St. Helens shaking and threatening, an asteroid the size of a house barely missing the world. Then we have the problems between Trump and North Korea coming up, and 66 wildfires burning in California, 42 dead, 6,000 buildings and homes burned. And America just, it's like, and the band played on. Okay, no, we aren't even mentioned the mass shooting, which, by the way, that's another, these are the biggest hurricanes in U.S. history. This is the worst flooding in U.S. history. And now this is the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. It's all U.S. history. And along with the fact we have the NFL players can't even stand and put their hand over their heart. Brothers and sisters, our nation is falling apart. I believe that we're in the days. I think that the internal revolution has already started. In case you haven't heard that, Dmitri was told that the fall of America would start with an internal revolution started by the communists. Some of the people would start fighting against the government. The government would be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 of the countries would attack and defeat America. God would raise up China, Japan, many of the nations. They'd go against the Russians. They'd defeat the Russians. They'd back the Russians to the gates of Paris where they sign a peace treaty, but they make the Russians their leader. Now we're having California wildfires. And listen, let me read this again. How could you possibly get 66 widely spaced, massive wildfires appearing instantly all across the nation with no natural weather causing them, growing rapidly with perfectly calm weather just prior, sudden massive winds at the initiation of the fires, blue sparks in the air, malfunctioning electronics, and in some people, heart palpitations? Well, in my opinion, yeah, I think it is some kind of high technology. I don't know exactly what the technology is, but at the end of the day, it's the hand of God. Rest assured, these would not be happening if America was a Christian nation, walking with God, talking with God, and keeping His laws. God would see to it. Look, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. For only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. You see, brothers and sisters, God is going to be protecting us in these last days. Now, let me turn and say something else, and I included this on our most recent DVD, which is called Revelations on Revelation. As you recall, I asked people to write in and give me their testimony. I was more than just a little impressed with some of the testimonies. Let me read you a couple of the testimonies. I think they'll touch you too. And here's the question. You got to ask yourself, do you have a testimony? Because if you don't have a testimony, you should be very concerned. He says, I'm 17 years old, and I've always professed to be a Christian, but my life wasn't fully changed by Christ until about 13 or 14 years old. Through several sexual temptations that had overcome me, I believe God placed judgments in my life that was intended to correct my sin and bring me back to Him. His correction did in fact work, and I know what the fear of God is because of it. My grandmother liked Bible prophecy and showed me the implications of the blood moons in 2014-2015. She sparked my interest in the end times. So I looked up things related to Bible prophecy on the internet. I eventually found Prophecy Club and Dimitri Duduman's testimony. I also attended the meeting recorded, where you recorded the DVD 2014 to 2021, which I thought was excellent. I began to form my prayer closet, fast, and read my Bible regularly. 13 friends and I have a Bible study once a week at each other's houses. Thanks to you, Stan. I've just completed memorizing the whole book of Revelation via mainly audio. By the way, congratulations. It also took me around 6 months. I also have read the whole Bible in a year, and I'm starting to read it over again. Prophecy Club has changed my life, and I know that this message is truly from God. Question, brothers and sisters, do you have a testimony? Let me read another one. Hi, Stan, I love your show. I found it about 6 months ago, and I tune in every day to hear it. Thank you for your courage. I was raised a Catholic, but my spiritual condition at the time of my salvation was a blend of New Age, Eastern religions, and Catholicism. I was truly searching for God, but He put some wonderful Christians in my path. I was challenged one day by an older Christian about where my beliefs actually came from. This gentleman made me realize that my beliefs were formed by people and my own imagination. He held up a Bible and said, everything you need to know about God is in here. That night I made a decision to myself that I would start reading the Bible from the beginning and not stop until I finished it. Well, I finished it in 6 months, and when I was done, I was witnessing to everyone I came across. I remember I was due to have a baby around that time and packed a Bible in a case so I could witness to the nurses at the hospital. Since then, I start every year in January and finish reading the Bible again around October. I'm on my 17th year. On another note, I wanted to tell you that about 6 months ago, I was awakened with the words in my ear, which said, there will be chaos all around. One by one, they, parenthesis, countries, will fall. Then on 9/17/17, I heard words in the middle of the night that said, national mourning. Yesterday, I noticed the flags were being flown half-staff. On your program, you have mentioned receiving words, and what a comfort that has been to me because I never heard of this happening to anyone before. So I thank you for sharing. May God bless your work. So, brothers and sisters, I have a big question for you. Do you have a testimony? Have you asked Jesus into your heart? Are you absolutely certain that if you were to die tonight, that your name is in the book of life and that you would go to live eternally with Jesus? If you're not sure, now is the time to get on your knees and ask Jesus into your heart and begin to read that Bible like your eternal life depends upon it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless.
Prophecy Club is on the tip of God's spear. Join the battle and prayerfully consider supporting the Prophecy Club with your gifts of support. We would not be here without your prayers and generous financial support.
Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. I memorized the book of Revelation, and in the process, God gave me 12 awesome revelations. Jesus is not the primary message of Revelation. What is? My biggest revelation, what is the morning star? Who are the two witnesses? The final answer to the rapture question. Definitive proof that America is in Revelation. And what is America's future? 7 signs to spot the Antichrist early. When does the New Jerusalem arrive? Are there 1 or 2 judgments? The surprising final plague on earth. It's a double DVD for a gift of $50 or more. Order at prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. Revelations on Revelation, gift of $50, prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. Pastor Massey has 3 DVDs, Miracles in Pakistan, Visits to Heaven and Hell. Then the DVD, The Babylonians Are Coming, is his testimony of 9 dreams and visions that God has shown him for the fall of America. And the accompanying book, all 4, available for a gift of $75 by going to prophecyclub.com or calling 785-266-1112.